President Salva Kiir now insists on releasing Dr. Riek from house arrest, including political, diplomatic, peace-related, and strategic reasons. Why Salva Kiir is pushing to release Dr. Riek. The decision by President Salva Kiir to push for the release of Dr. Riek, South Sudan's first vice president and leading opposition figure, from house arrest in Juba is driven by a combination of internal political pressure, regional diplomacy, international pressure, and the urgent need to rescue a collapsing peace process. 1. To revive the fragile peace agreement. Since the signing of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in South Sudan, RARCSS, in 2018, Machar has played a central role as the opposition's top leader. His detention in early 2025, following deadly clashes in Upper Nile State, led to the breakdown of trust between the ruling SPLMIG and opposition SPLMIO. Kiir now recognizes that keeping Machar under house arrest is undermining the peace deal, especially Article 1.7.2, which guarantees Machar's role in the unity government. Without Machar's full participation, the transitional government lacks legitimacy and balance, making future elections impossible under current conditions. 2. To respond to mounting international and regional pressure. President Kiir is under immense diplomatic pressure from key international players. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has personally urged Kiir to release Machar and ensure inclusivity in the transitional government. IGAD, the African Union, and the European Union have warned of possible consequences including suspension of South Sudan from regional blocs if Machar remains detained. Western envoys, including the United States, United Kingdom, and Norway, the Troika, have also signaled that failure to comply could result in economic sanctions or diplomatic isolation. By calling for Machar's release, Kiir is trying to avoid international punishment and preserve South Sudan's standing on the global stage. 3. To prevent a return to full-scale conflict. There's growing concern that Machar's detention could trigger renewed armed rebellion. His support base in Upper Nile, Unity, and Jonglei states remains strong, and his prolonged absence risks SPLMIO hardliners splitting from the peace process entirely. Escalation of ethnic-based violence and military defections. Emergence of new rebel movements, similar to past cycles of war, 2013-2016. Kiir understands that Machar's release may be the only way to de-escalate tensions and bring SPLMIO factions back to the negotiating table. 4. To reset the political roadmap before 2025 elections. South Sudan is preparing for general elections, tentatively scheduled for late 2025 or early 2026. However, these elections are impossible without a functioning and inclusive transitional government, the reactivation of key institutions such as the Political Parties Council, Electoral Commission, and security arrangements, all of which require Machar's approval and input. Releasing Machar is a strategic political move by Kiir to stabilize the environment before entering what could be South Sudan's first democratic transition since independence. 5. To boost Kiir's image as a peacemaker. President Kiir may also see Machar's release as an opportunity to present himself as a unifier, especially after facing criticism for authoritarian tendencies, win over skeptical citizens and regional leaders who view him as the obstacle to peace, set the tone for a new phase of reconciliation ahead of elections. This could help Kiir rebrand himself from a wartime leader to a transitional statesman. Conclusion. Salva Kiir's insistence on freeing Dr. Riek is not just about political goodwill, it's a strategic necessity. With the peace deal crumbling, elections approaching, and international pressure mounting, the move is aimed at saving the country from collapse, restoring balance in leadership, and ensuring that South Sudan does not return to civil war. Would you like a timeline of events since Machar's arrest, or reactions from SPLMIO and international diplomats? Is President Kiir pressure to release Dr. Riek? Yes, IGAD, the African Union, AU, the European Union, EU, the United Nations, UN, and other international peace partners have strongly pressured President Salva Kiir to release Dr. Riek from house arrest. Their concern is that his continued detention threatens to derail the 2018 peace agreement, destabilize the country, and possibly reignite civil conflict. What kind of pressure did these bodies apply? IGAD, Intergovernmental Authority on Development. IGAD is the main regional bloc that mediated South Sudan's peace deal. In July 2025, IGAD issued a formal warning to South Sudan, demanding immediate and unconditional release of Dr. Riek and other detained opposition figures, full compliance with the revitalized peace agreement, RARCSS, They threatened to suspend South Sudan's membership if the government continues to violate the terms of the peace accord. African Union (AU). The AU Peace and Security Council (AUPSC) backed IGAD's position. They warned of the collapse of the transitional government if Kiir continues to sideline his political rivals. The AU called for an independent investigation into violations of the peace agreement, restoration of political inclusivity and civic space, respect for the power-sharing formula. European Union (EU). The EU issued a joint statement with other Troika members US, UK, Norway. They said Mashar's detention was undermining trust between peace partners. The EU warned that failure to restore political cooperation would result in sanctions or aid suspension, block South Sudan's ability to participate in future EU-Africa partnerships. United Nations (UN). UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called for Mashar's immediate release, restoration of a functioning government that includes all signatories to the peace agreement. The UN Security Council was also briefed in May and July 2025 on worsening political repression in South Sudan. United States and other Western envoys. The US State Department declared, "We are deeply concerned by the restriction of Dr. Mashar's freedom. South Sudan must honor its peace commitments." US and UK ambassadors met Kiir privately and warned of targeted sanctions, including travel bans and asset freezes. Why are they so concerned? Machar is a signatory and key pillar of the 2018 peace agreement. His exclusion violates the agreement structure. The transitional government cannot legally function without all 5 vice presidents, especially the first vice president. International partners fear that without Machar, elections scheduled for late 2025 or early 2026 will not be free or credible. Summary. Yes, IGAD, AU, EU, UN, and major global powers are actively pressuring President Kiir to release Dr. Riek Machar. They view his detention as a serious threat to the peace process, and their demands are growing more urgent, with possible diplomatic, economic, and political consequences if Kiir does not comply. Now, as international communities pressure President Kiir to release his first vice president Dr. Riek and move on with 2018 revitalized peace agreement, Kiir need to sit down, think and make the right decision before it's too late for him to lost everything. President Kiir need to ignore negative influence from his cabinets who are looking for seat, not for the country interest. We are on the second day of the 7th days given to President Kiir to release Dr. Riek from house arrest.